1977 in Istanbul. After finishing Pertemniyel High School, he graduated from Marmara University Faculty of Communication. He completed his master's degree at the Department of Political Science at Essex University. He studied comparative politics and public policies at Oxford University, Department of Political Science and International Relations. In 2012, he attended Harvard University John F. Kennedy Public School Leadership Program with a full scholarship and completed his program. Between 2003 and 2007, he taught Middle East politics, strategy, and security at Oxford University. He worked as an analyst at Oxford Analytica and Global Water Intelligence Companies. He worked in media sector to support his university education in 1997 to 1999. Between 2009 and 2011, he worked as an advisor at the Ministry of National Education. Between 2011 and 2015, he worked as a semi-lecturer at Hasan Kalyoncu, Bahçeşehir, Okan and Aydın universities, and he still teaches the Communication Skills for Engineers course at Yıldız Technical University, Mechatronics Engineering Department. Gökhan Yücel focuses his current work on artificial intelligence, global education policies, the third industrial revolution, strategic communication, political campaigns, trends in technology and needs of the future, digital diplomacy and branding. He is also the president of Digital Research Association, which is located in Istanbul. He writes articles in The Guardian, Yeni Şafak, Radikal, Daily Sabah, and Digital Çağ magazine. He is the consultant of the OECD Education Project in 2030 as an elite global education intellectual. He is a consultant to the UN Secretary General in the field of social media and digital media. He has been working as the political communication and digital strategy consultant at Arthur Advertising Agency since 2014. He's a fluent speaker of English and French. So here you can see even when I was writing his biography, I got exhausted. So we have a really good speaker here with us today, and I think it's going to be really fruitful session. So Mr. Gökhan Yücel, are you hearing us?
I'm with you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm leaving the floor to you. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Dennis, thank you very much. Thanks for this introduction. It's a great pleasure to be able to address these distinguished friends from all over the Islamic world. Well, there have been a couple of updates in my CV as well. Just to mention, I'm currently also again with the Ministry of National Education as senior advisor to the Ministry of National Education. Also sitting in the UNESCO National Committee on Artificial Intelligence, and I'm with the Foreign Ministry on Digital Diplomacy, and with the Transportation Ministry as sitting in their advisory committee as well. So that's who I am. I'll try to be very quick, although I want to tell you lots of things, since the power of social media covers a huge spectrum. But I will be as quick as possible. I will try to refer to few things with lots of slides, but with lots of visual support. So firstly, I think I should share my screen with you guys so that I can carry on. Can you see my screen? So I can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's excellent. So it's I mean, the world is advancing in a very rapid fashion, and the power of social media has already entered a new phase, but is continuously entering new phases with rapid developments in technology sector. So what I'm going to do is just to remind you a couple of things that you might already know, but what I'm going to try to tell in a nutshell is that the current power of social media should not be or cannot be conceived independently from the general technology trends. So we all have to acknowledge the technology trends that also have a huge impact on social media and how we use social media, or how the platforms develop their platforms. So today in the world, um, uh, the penetration rate of the internet penetration rate and mobile penetration rate have both reached enormous level. Today there are um, 5 point almost 5.2 billion mobile users, and we have almost 4.5 billion internet users as of January 2020. But as we all have been undergoing, I mean, we all have been experiencing an unprecedented period in also in the world, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. So lots of people also think and offer new frameworks about what this pandemic will bring us in the post-pandemic days, whether or not what uh, we are doing now as a result of the demise of physical media and physical institutions or physical capabilities. We all have been overusing maybe digital means, especially social media, video platforms, online chats, platform chatting or messaging platforms, and online conferencing platforms, and etc. So almost everyone in government sector, in public sector, in private sector, in the NGO sector are all thinking about the ways in which this pandemic will affect the way in which live and use the digital world. And what is emerging now as new patterns of, or the new opportunities of using digital means is a very rapid hybridization, if you like, of the physical and the cyber means. So as you might already remember, a few years ago in the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, world leaders discussed or started discussing a new phenomena, which is the fourth industrial revolution, and the basics of, or the basis of internet for the fourth industrial revolution is all about the cyber physical world. So and now we started talking about the new normal, which can be resembled to the cyber physical world, which started to be designed in the fourth the World Economic Forum. So as you can see, during the pandemics, many things that were quite dominant over the past maybe 2 centuries in the modern life, like traveling, entertainment, working, they all have been challenged by the consequences of the global pandemic. So all the physical mediums have collapsed, and what we started doing was to reorganize our lives through the means of digital world. This is not a new thing, but it's safe to say that it is now overwhelmingly much more than what it used to be, say, a year ago. And so this is a new experience, and the subject of this new experience is I. It is a hybrid personalization. This new phase of the power of social media is also to be a new epoch of the hyper personalization of the new digital experience, and this teaches us new ways to learn. It's not only about education, it's not only about distance learning, but new ways of learning is all, can all be seen in many other sectors, like in the government sector, in the private sector. there are new experiences that this hyper personalization is or started becoming quite dominant. And if you look around, also one other thing which you will see is, and that's an Accenture report, and then below there's this Turkish discussion on a Turkish TV channel, which I wanted to refer. Accenture said that this 3 years of transformation, digital transformation, will have to be done in next 3 months. And the CEO of one of the main holdings in big business enterprises in Turkey, the Sabancı CEO Cenk Alper said, we are now thinking to do our digitalization so rapidly that what we want to do in the next 10 years will be done quite shortly. So there is this literature of digital transformation, which is quite widespread now in the world. And again, neither digital transformation, nor hyper-personalization, nor using digital platforms are new things. But the impact of pandemics shows us that these things are now so widespread that they are slowly but kind of surely replacing the physical world. And there is this new mix under the rubric of new normal of the cyber and the physical, which is called cyber physical world. But who knows what will happen next? Maybe the physical world, the physical ways of doing things, learning things, practicing things will have to disappear. And this is one of the things that the pandemics also introduced, which is uncertainty. So we all have to get prepared for the future, which is quite, in a way, dark, and which offers us, again, a variety of uncertainties that we have to increase our preparedness towards that this trend. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but what I'm trying to show here is that this digital transformation, again, did not start yesterday, did not start with the pandemics, with the COVID-19 pandemics. It started nearly 20 years, 25 years ago, and it occurred so rapidly, so quickly, that now the digital world is or can be summarized with the common use of the mobile world and the use of internet. So and the when we talk about this, again, growth, there is one concept that everyone here should maybe should hear, which is exponentiality. So again, this growth is so unprecedented that it cannot be meaningful, or we cannot offer a very valid and a strong basis of understanding with the modern way of explaining or understanding things. So this exponential growth in technology cannot easily be understood with the linear ways of describing or explaining things in modern life. So you can see all that in these graphs, in these tables, that the technological advancement is so exponential, and this exponentiality brings also new ways of thinking. If you, I don't know if you know or if you ever heard of the Moore law, that it says in every 2 years the computational power also doubles. But last year, few reports, mainly the Stanford's artificial intelligence report, told us that the doubling effect of the computational power in every 2 years is now reduced to 3.4 months. Okay, so this also shows us that we entered a new phase. And the technology companies, if you looked at this table, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, we would see that the top kind of companies uh, uh, in the world are still conventional companies, like doing automobiles, or the pharmaceutical companies, or etc. And if you look at the top, say, 50 or top 30 companies in the world today, what we will see is a domination of the technological companies. And if we focus a bit more, and this is what it shows, on the top 30 companies in the world, in the technology sector, what we will see is that there's this overlap between the top 30 companies in the technology sector and the overall ranking. And it also shows, and it kind of verifies that um, the status, the powerful status of the technological companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, which is Google, Facebook, Alibaba, in the world economy. And of course, social media, again, when we looked at social media 15 years ago or 10 years ago, which was its in embryonic form, we would probably see people, sharing posts and maybe a few photos and trying to connect to each other. And this is the usual story. But today, when we look at the way people connect, it is not that simple as it used to be in 10 or 15 years ago. Now we have a sharing economy. We have this um, um, data-driven um, economic model, business model, and we have companies which targets the attention, emotion, and attitudes of its users, so that it can make money by reselling these valuable data to whom uh, and these what we call advertisers, or the companies who want to target us as users, they take the data from the big companies, and what they want to do is just to find you, because you are important for them, you are a potential customer, and show what they want to sell. That can be shoes, that can be a travel plan, that can be a plane ticket, etc. Okay? And this is done, of course, what I want to say again is, well, this is done in such a disruptive, such an innovative way that the form of social media ecosystem in the world is enormous now. And it is not only about posting, say, today is good, the weather is fine, but it is also about real-time information. It's about mobile technologies, it's about apps, it's about big data, it's about games and gamification, it's about messaging, it's about wearable technologies, it's about virtual AR and VR and artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, smart cities, cryptocurrencies, blockchain. So there is this birth of a new hyper-connected innovation ecosystem in which we try to live and survive. I'm deliberately using the term survival or surviving after, again, if you had opportunity to follow after what happened or what has been happening over the years, but the last true thing that occurred yesterday, last night, the hacking of Bill Gates, Elon Musk's, Apple's, Uber's, Twitter handles is not a very just usual daily thing to digest. It offers lots of food for thought for us to grasp, to understand what is really going on in the world through the power of social media, and those who want to hold this power, who want to share this power, and who want to distribute this power. Okay. So again, technological trends in AI, in many other fields. But one other thing which is quite important, I hope you can view the videos well. But here I'm showing you the power of 5G. So remember the doubling effect of computational power, which is now reduced to 3.4 months, then 2 years that it used to be, say, a couple of years ago. So now we're all using 4.5G, the LTE technology, and what we experience is on average 20 megabits of connection. But when the 5G technology enters or will enter our daily lives with a great 800, 850, 900 megabits of connection power, again, things will have to change. That's another 5G example. So after the term exponentiality, there is another term in this sense that we all have to acquaint ourselves, which is singularity. So again, what I'm trying to stress is, from a simplistic embryonic form of social media back 10 years ago or 15 years ago, now things have been evolving, and it evolved into different forms over the time. But now it's so complex, it's so ecosystem, it's now surviving in a hyper connected ecosystem. It's a kind of meta global, if you like, ecosystem which connects people, but which also connects technological trends, platforms, and etc. So there is this new term, well, fairly new term, which was invented a few years ago, the term singularity. So the term singularity tells us the potential power of computer power or computational power versus the human performance. So there is this huge debate that the machine intelligence, artificial intelligence, computational power slash machine intelligence slash artificial intelligence slash computer power will transcend the human power or human performance, and the meeting point of these two is called the singularity. The singular form of life, which again can be resembled to the cyber physical world, which I referred at the very beginning. So what will happen next is the emergence of transhumans, like AI empowered people, and our brains will be augmented by artificial intelligence, like what Elon Musk is trying to do in Neuralink, or what Facebook is doing in their building gate. So things will change what we are used to do drastically in this sense. Let's skip these things, but again, at the end of this huge transformation, we will witness, and that's what Morgan Stanley says, witness an utopian society or a super society in which the traditional forms of power will evolve into a digital biological or a cyber physical system, increasing velocity, exponential growth, and systems for consumers and business will change drastically. Let's skip these parts, okay? And of course, at the end, what we will again witness as a consequence of this hyperconnection or hyperconnected world is what we have all been witnessing over the past 10 or 15 years. Will now enter a new phase also. And remember, if you look well, or research well into what Google knows about you, Google knows almost everything about you. Okay, but how do they do this? I mean, how can they know everything about us? They know everything about us because we use Google, we use Facebook, we use Twitter, and we lend our data, our emotions, our attitudes to these platforms. And again, as I said a few minutes ago, what they do is just they collect our data and they sell it to those who want to target us as customers. So this is a cycle in which things take shape. And one of the features of this taking shape is that Google, Facebook, TikTok, etc., lots of other things, platforms, they started learning a lot about you, and they, roughly put, they know you more than you know yourself. So, and this is what and how Google targets you. This is a Google Ads screen. So, they target you with keywords, they target you with locations, they target you with demographic parameters, etc., so that they build an empire rather than a technology company. So Google now is one of world's largest technological companies, and as a result, they are so much connected to human life, and this is such a connection that they know everything about you. They know so much about you that others, like defense companies or government institutions, also want to collaborate with them. This is just one simple example to benefit from this hyperconnection. And although this project never took place because the Google employees didn't want to take part in it, but 2 years ago, Google and Pentagon wanted to collaborate in a project called Maven, and what it wanted to do, basically, it wanted to use the Google data to target people to kill, okay? And these people, these targets would mostly be Muslims. So we have to awake, okay? The power of social media is not only about Arab Spring or, street protests and use of social media, sharing photos, sharing locations, sharing few words with each other. This is well beyond this. The true power of social media is the power of data, is the power of ecosystem, and is the power of platforms. The term platform is quite significantly important because when these social media companies were formed 10, 15 years ago, they all claimed to be neutral platforms, okay? We are neutral. We just, we let users to connect so that we contribute to world peace and, that kind of stuff. But now, today, we closely witness the fact that these neutral platforms have transformed into partial broadcasters. Now, Twitter is a highly political broadcaster. Now, Facebook is a highly political broadcaster. And this is quite significant. With the help of course, new technological trends like artificial intelligence, etc. And that's the way in which Zuckerberg and the Facebook sees world politics or world. For Facebook, there is no real border. It's not an issue, although they would say that nations are important for them, etc. But this is a Zuckerberg presentation, and this is how, in fact, Facebook sees the world. No borders, only Facebook connections, and the world map is created or recreated or redesigned through the lens of Facebook connections. So the brighter, the more Facebook connections, and etc. I know I have to stop in a few minutes, so I'll be very quick and finalize maybe in, I don't know, 5 to 6 minutes if it's all right, and I'll go as quick as possible again, and of course again these X, Y, Z generations, millennials, boomers, um, and this is the commercial power of social media. This is all about, again, advertising. Um, the segmentation is all about advertising, um, and trying to segment the population so accurately that they become a more accurate um, um, targets to locate. Okay, um, and it's easier for them if they do in that way. But yes, again, those who are now between 10 or and 18 or 10 or 20 are or seem to be more frequent users or better users of social media and digital platforms. One of other things that would support that fact is also the best paid YouTubers or YouTube stars. Um, uh, in this top 10 best paid YouTube stars, I think 7 or 6 of them are under the age of 9. Okay, so and they make more than $10 million a year. And again, um, uh, if you look at the generation Z and millennials and the baby boomers, the brands that they like will differ drastically and significantly. That the baby boomers will go for more conventional brands, whereas the generation Z will opt for more digital brands. Again, another um, um, this is the Facebook um, digital advertising screen. As you can see, uh, uh, um, an advertising agency or a brand can target us through maps, locations, age groups, incomes, more demographics. Like you can scroll down there, you will see uh, lots of hundreds of parameters, and your address, your political view, your whatever, etc. And this is this was desired for long, but now last year it eventually realized. Now the world, the global digital, the global advertising expenditures within that big pie, almost more than half is now digital advertising spending. So the digital advertising spendings have passed, has overcome the conventional ad spendings last year for the first time, which I would believe is an irreversible, is a start of an irreversible period in that sense. And again, more figures about this. Again, the power of social media is all about the power of data. The companies, big technological companies, the big five, and what they know about you, what they can do with this data is all shown on this graph. So they know about your health, they know about your political views, they know about your religious views, they know about your location, they know about your face, your biometrical data, your emotions in that way, etc. And of course, the political manipulation part of the story, the hate speech, or the fake news, and etc. We started knowing about this, more about this. Maybe we had known a little about this 10 years or 5 years ago, but and I would say the first Obama campaign is a milestone in that regard. But when the Cambridge Analytica scandal took place, we realized that the world, the social media is not the social media we used to know 10 years ago. Now it can also change political decisions. It can manipulate political decisions, political behavior, etc. So if you look at the Cambridge Analytica scandal closely and quick and carefully, one can easily see that the way in which political voters are affected, are manipulated, turn out to become in an unprecedented way again. And I would highly recommend you to watch these two films, The Great Hack and The Brexit, The Uncivil War. And it tells almost a complete story of how the power of social media is also the power of political campaigners as a result of the importance of data and as you can see in the Great Hack poster, that they tell you they took your data, then they took control. And yesterday's hacks, we don't know what really happened. I will appear on TRT News, TRT Haber at 4 o'clock about this, but I still don't know what I will tell because we know little about the hacks. But we'll see what we can do, and we should closely follow the news about this hack that took place last night, and we shouldn't treat it as a singular as a daily hack of its own, but we should do further readings about its relation with the American elections, the Chinese, the cyber sovereignty kind of ecosystem, the Russians, etc. So we should be able to do further connections in that regard as well. And one last thing, maybe before I finalize, maybe two last things. The power of social media is also so polarized, or the power of social media can be used to polarize. But it's a polarization which take place on social connections in a way that we are not very, we just use it as daily users. Okay, we talk to our friends, or we talk to our enemies, or we think we talk to our friends, or we talk to our enemies. But there is a growing literature of scholarship about the filter bubbles and echo chambers on social media, and I would highly recommend you, if you are interested in that topic, to have a quick look about what they say. So the filter bubbles and echo chambers also help those who really want to manipulate or disinform us. Okay, during elections, during daily just routines, but there are people around us, there are institutions, there are countries, nations around us who want to see us separated. Okay, who want to see X country separated with Turkey on Y topic, or a fragmented Islamic community in the world. And this is easily done, or this can easily be done on social media. And this is the power of social media, but who holds this power? We should also be careful about this. And this is from the American elections, the last American elections. This shows a map of the Republicans and the Democrats, and the way in which they are fragmented, so that they can more easily be manipulated. Okay, so we call this filter bubbles. People are kind of trapped into bubbles where they can only hear what some others want them to hear. Or we call it echo chambers, in the sense that we talk, but we only hear our own voice. Okay, this is quite an important thing in today's social media, and this is a power. But the question, as all other questions that I've been trying to raise from the beginning, is who really holds this power? Okay. I will stop here. There are maybe 200 more slides here, but this is what I wanted to say in a nutshell. Um, the power of social media is not writing good texts only. It, of course, covers creating good content and creating, you know, uh, nice videos or making good strategies. But the real thing is to one of the main things for me is to grasp the changing character of power and trying to read it with the changing character of the digital world. And this is what I really believe is the true social, the true power of social media, or it's also the true power of artificial intelligence. So, as an international relations and slash communications expert, what I believe is that the future of power in social media, in diplomacy, in government, will be quite depending on the question of understanding who really holds power in social media. And this is lastly that I want this is what I want to say. The If you think about the evolution of power in world history, it's in modern times, of course. It first appeared as hard power, that it never, it didn't suffice after, especially after the Second World War. So what happened is they invented a new form of power, which is soft power. It didn't also suffice after some time, and they combined soft power and hard power, and they created the smart power. Again, it didn't really suffice. And what happened next is Joseph Nye, of course, the inventor of almost all forms of power in the 20th century or in the 21st century. He came up with a new source of power, which is the cyber power. And then when power is or it was challenged by other holders of power, like China, especially in technology, they thought that these four forms of power, which are also quite good at explaining the evolution of technology, are not sufficiently enough to explain the Chinese challenge. So they came up with a new form of power, which is the sharp power, which is bad power as compared to hard, smart, soft, and cyber power. Sharp power is bad because it's the power held by China to attack the Western world. But again, I think what we need to do as Islamic community world is to grasp all sources of power and who really holds this power for what purpose, and to be awake all the time to keep our unity and to act unified for in the future for this rapidly changing world. And I should stop here, and maybe if you have any questions, this is a summary of what I want to say. I can tell lots of other things, but this is what I wanted to really say and focus. And thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gökhan. It was a really fruitful discussion, and especially a scary one, as I can say, with all the information that you have shared with us today. That they know us better than us. Actually, it's kind of scary information that I can say. Due to the time constraint of our speaker, we will not be entertaining too many questions. I guess there are many questions on the house right now that they want to ask questions to Mr. Gökhan. So let me take 2 to 3 questions first, Mr. Gökhan. Then I'll be leaving the floor to you for you to answer. First, Mr. Omar Bala from Lebanon. Mr. Omar, do you hear us? Mr. Omar? I think he has a technical issue. Miss Esnaira Salem, do you hear us at the moment? If
Yes,
you
I
can,
hear you.
please, you can direct your question.
So good afternoon. Thank you for that very interesting session. From what I grasped from that is that we always believe that the power of social media lies within the users. People are made to believe that through social media we are able to raise our voices. You know, we have the freedom to speak whatever what's in our minds. We are even allowed to, you know, influence legislations or challenge them if we want to. And that's like, you know, fooling people around that through social media we are, you know, we hold this power to in our lives. But from this session, I get to see that the real power lies within those people who, for example, the industries, and some institutions, like even the government, can use social media to manipulate us. So how can this turn this around? That's my question.
Thank you, Ms. Esnaira. The question was all taken, right, Mr. Gökhan?
Should I answer it now?
No, let me take two more, then
Okay,
I'll
I'll
leave
wait.
the floor for you to
I'll
answer. Mr. Adama Damfa from Gambia. Mr. Adama, do you hear us?
Yeah, I'm hearing you guys. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Please direct your question.
Okay, so my question is, I want to ask the presenter about why is it difficult that sometimes some of the things that are happening in the globe, especially in the Asian region, the mainstream medias don't actually report those things, and then we see every time that in the West, whatever is happening there, so many medias will always try to just be the first media to publish something like that. So an example is right now, if you look at the world map or the Google map, and then you will see that Palestine is not in the map. It has been removed, but none of the mainstream media has been reporting or showing something like this. So I don't know, is it that sometimes media outlets prioritize what favors them and then leave those that are not being mentioned by the Western medias? So I don't actually know. This is my question. I'm not sure if it is related to the presentation, but I just have a doubt that I wanted to put forward so that I can have maybe something from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adama. And the last question, Mr. Zahidur Rahman from Bangladesh. Mr. Zahidur, do you hear us?
Yeah, I'm hearing.
Yes, please, you can forward your question.
My question is now, the social media, especially the companies, are trying to more censorship upon their own, like Facebook now removing the ads, now removing the posts, Twitter as like. So in future, is that might create a discrimination or might threat or might create more threat on freedom of press or freedom of expression?
Thank you, Mr. Zahidur. Mr. Gökhan, the floor is yours again.
Thank you. The question about this paradox of the social media as we know it is the epicenter of free speech is a myth. Well, it is as such. I think as much as the platform owners let you to do that. I will give you a couple of examples about this. Twitter banned 7,345 Twitter accounts last month. Okay. And the only reason, or one of the biggest reason for that, was to support our president in his decisions. You like president's decisions or not, it's not the issue. But do you think that it is a fair reason to ban Twitter users for only supporting a political leader that they don't like? Okay. When I use Twitter or when I, face new suggestions, the suggestions that I see, or others probably also see, are specific suggestions, specifically chosen political suggestions. Okay, this is why they want to create an echo chamber around myself, or what they want is to break my filter bubbles and echo chambers. So again, is really social media the true epicenter of free speech? Well, we all want to say what we want to say, but the story is not that simple. And I am more interested in that complicated part of the story rather than only reading posts or sharing photos or seeing ads that people want me to see. I am the author of a political concept which was promoted by our president's office, communications office, again last month. It is called Cyber Homeland. We call it Siber Vatan in Turkish. I've written the framework, and we developed it with few other colleagues. And this was the idea that there is now this new world, okay, where big social media companies or technology giants want to create their own domain, on their own world, and they want to act as states. And connecting it with the second question, the question of Palestine, and that that it's so it's so overestimated in media and both conventional and social media, is also can also be connected to the same reason. But I should also tell my friends from Gambia, I would say, or that's what I remember, that when Google recognized Palestine as a sovereign state, again, Google recognized Palestine as a sovereign state, at least in its search engine, 4 or 5 years ago. That was a big battle. And if you go and look and read Israel newspapers and what they felt back then, will show us what it really means to hold the power of social media beyond the users. Okay, and it's a power which can be best understood within the framework of this new algorithmic world order. So it's an algorithmic power, I would say. And maybe I should revise my title, The Algorithmic Power of Social Media, rather than the power of social media only. And the censorship question, censorship is one common thing that is widely seen in social media, and I am personally against any type of censorship, unless, again, connecting it with the first question, unless, for me, in Turkey, for example, if someone really comes up and wants to voice, for instance, the FETÖ, if someone wants to become the voice of this terrorist organization who wanted to do or stage a coup 4 years ago, and then they killed 251 people, and yesterday was the 4th anniversary, as you can recall. Here, I'm okay with the censorship, okay? Because I don't want to hear people promoting a terrorist organization who killed my friends. That's what happened. They killed my boss back then. They killed one of my best friends, his son. I think censorship is okay here. So censorship can only be applied, I think, in the context of sovereignty, national independence, national integrity, and public safety. But apart from that, I would say censorship is not really seriously needed. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gökhan. And with having this said, we can come to a conclusion for our today's first session. And we thank Mr. Gökhan for his valuable time and the beautiful presentation that he's given. And it was really important information that he's provided to us, especially the usage of social media and the data collection. So thank you, Mr. Gökhan, and it was honored to host you here in the ICYF Online Media Training Camp. So, and as an information, as an quick info, we have a other session after 7 minutes, which is I think at 10:02 we have the other session. If I'm not mistaken, it could be 5:02 either. Sorry, yeah, 5:02. Sorry, at 5:02, which is 7 minutes. After 7 minutes, we have the other session, and I'll be leaving the floor to my dear brother, Mr. Ahmed Iddi, as a moderator, and we have other speaker upcoming. So that's all from my side. Thank you, Mr. Gökhan Yücel, and thank you for all our participants to be here today. And have a good day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much.